Welcome back, Truth Seeker. November 2nd, 2018. 101 years ago today, November 2nd, 1917, the Balfour Declaration was drafted to Lord Rothschild about delivering the Zionist state of Israel. And this came in a period of time where, for about 2 decades prior, mainstream newspapers such as the New York Times had been publishing articles about the Holocaust of 6 million dead Jews. It's not known to most Americans that from the late 1800s up until the start of World War II, it was printed over 100 times in US and in international papers that 6 million Jews had died or were dying. Always the number 6 million. And that term Holocaust was used decades before World War II even took place. To understand the Zionist agenda and the way they operate, you have to know the language that they speak in. And that language is in letters and numbers. There's something in the world called Kabbalah. It's ancient mysticism adopted largely by Jewish culture. And Kabbalah has a text called the Book of Formation. You can pick it up on Amazon, a bookstore, your library. The very first paragraph of the Book of Formation says that God created the world by merging the letter with the number. And this code of letters and numbers is known as Gematria. It's important to Judaism. It's important to Freemasonry. And again, Freemasonry is based in Judaism. It's based in the Old Testament. It's based in Kabbalah, this mysticism that's largely Jewish. So what I want to do now is go to my desktop and explain why the Balfour Declaration was drafted November 2nd to deliver the Zionist state of Israel. The document's right here. Foreign Office, November 2nd, 1917. Dear Lord Rothschild. I'll just read it here straight from the letter. I guess it's bigger this way. I have much pleasure in conveying to you, on behalf of His Majesty's government, the following declaration of sympathy with Jewish Zionist aspirations, which has been submitted to and approved by the Cabinet. His Majesty's government view with favor the establishment in Palestine of a national home for the Jewish people, and will use their best endeavors to facilitate the achievement of this object, it being clearly understood that nothing shall be done which may prejudice the civil and religious rights of existing non-Jewish communities in Palestine, or the rights and political status enjoyed by Jews in any other country. I should be grateful if you would bring this declaration to the knowledge of the Zionist Federation. And of course, since the establishment of the Zionist state of Israel, the people who are non-Jewish in those communities, they have been prejudiced. And a lot of people in Palestine now live in a prison state where they are murdered, executed, harassed, terrorized, starved, made thirsty, treated horribly. So anyway, why was this drafted November 2nd? When you learn the code of letters and numbers, you see that every single date in the calendar year is used as a ritual, in numbers, in words, every single day. That's not me exaggerating or overstating the fact. I mean every single day. And the proof of that is what I've been doing for 5 years straight. For 5 years, I've been here every single day showing how every news headline is contrived in this same way. November 2nd, that date's written 11/2 like 112. Notice in Gematria, Zionist equals 112. Judaism equals 112. We're going to talk about Donald Trump, the Zionist puppet, in just a moment. Donald Trump, who now has his face on a shekel, where on the other side there's the third temple, the next big Zionist agenda plot to destroy the Dome of the Rock, to bring about the third temple, to bring about the Jewish Messiah, which is supposed to bring about the one world Jewish order. And don't forget, October 6, 1940, a date with 75 numerology. The New York Times headline was New World Order pledged to Jews. October 6, 1940, date was 75 numerology, New World Order equals 75. See my work on the New York Times article from October 6, 1940. I've been telling people for years that even before Trump took office, that he would be the perfect candidate to bring in this agenda, the order out of chaos agenda, the Zionist agenda. Notice the name Donald is 112. Donald Trump's biggest backer was Sheldon Adelson, who is the man that is the self-proclaimed proudest Zionist in the world. He says he just wants to be a good Zionist. One of the richest men in the world. The name Sheldon, of course, sums to 112. And Sheldon Adelson has made all of his money taking advantage of rigged sports. He owns many casinos in Vegas. Vegas makes a lot of money because of the way people are manipulated. People do not understand that the Zionists control all of the world of sports. They rig the games, and they rig them in an illogical manner that takes advantage of logical bettors. You know, you don't earn $40 billion without a little trickery, without a little dishonesty. And gambling's one of those things that prize on human addiction. You know, when a gambler loses, they got to double down and win it back until they lose their house. That's how Sheldon Adelson got. He used to be worth even more, but still, 30-some billion, that's an amazing sum of money. Another number that's very important to the Zionists, outside of 112, which we're beginning with, is 119. His surname, Adelson, equals 119, like Orthodox, like Star of David. Another thing that sums to 119 is New Jersey. New Jersey's 119. Do you remember on September 11th, a date that's written 11/9 in a lot of the world, the dancing Israelis were arrested in New Jersey who were sent back to Israel, who had foreknowledge of the attack? If you don't know about the dancing Israelis, you need to look up that story. It's a real story. It's not propaganda. Men that admitted that they had foreknowledge and they were in New Jersey to document the attack of September 11th. That tells you that at the very least, people in Israel were aware of what was coming to America that day. Doesn't mean the entire nation of Israel was aware. Doesn't mean every Jew was aware. But some were aware. You can also research the many Jewish people who didn't show up for work at the World Trade Centers on September 11th. It's another fact. You know, if you're saying, how could people be so cruel? How could they know about something and not tell the rest of the world? That's where you need to know about the Talmud. In the Talmud, it says that Goyim, Gentiles, non-Jews, we're a slave race. We're not considered human. We're animals. We're here to work so that the Jew doesn't have to. We're here to slave so they don't have to. And we're here to be controlled by them. It's their rightful place to control us, like the way a rancher controls his cattle. September 11th was one of those control things, an agenda planned many years in advance. And that's something else you need to know. What we're living out right now, it was planned a long time ago. Do you remember what happened on September 11th, 2001? We had a president take office. His dad was the former Republican president. His dad gave a speech on September 11th, 1990, about a new world order, a world freer of terrorism, free from the rule of the jungle. His dad, the former head of the CIA, vice president, powerful man. His grandfather, Prescott Bush, made a lot of money off World War II. George W. Bush graduated from Yale and Skull and Bones, a Masonic order, in 1968. That's the same year 911 became the National Emergency Dialing Code. That's the same year World Trade Center construction began. It's also the same year Space Odyssey 2001 came out, a Hollywood production about how mankind will be overtaken by technology. You know, September 11th was a work of technology. Manhattan Project. World Trade Centers in Manhattan. Buildings turned to dust in midair. What do you think did that? Think it had anything to do with the research of the Manhattan Project? 50 years of underground detonations of highly explosive weapons? What were they testing, blowing up bombs 1,000 times over the course of 50 years, calling it the Manhattan Project? Don't ever forget that Bill Clinton took office in 93, stopped the underground testing program, and about a month after taking office, there was the 93 World Trade Center bombing. And then for months, they worked under the towers. What were they really doing? They blamed that on the blind sheik, which equals 93, like propaganda. Special number, 93. One we talk about a lot on this channel. I'll get more into it later. Oslo Accords in 93. We'll talk about it. So Sheldon Adelson, this guy, he was named accordingly. He was birthed accordingly. The Zionist cabal, they're really thought out. The Caesarean section makes a lot of things possible in this world. He was born August 4th, 1933, a date with 64 numerology. Synagogue of Satan equals 64. That's the term from Revelation for the false Jews. You read the Bible, you read the Apocryphals, you read the book of Enoch, you look at the words, it's very clear what physical description there is for the Jews. Hair of wool, dark skin, not the people that we recognize as Jewish. Does Sheldon Adelson have hair of wool? Does he have dark skin? He does not. He does not at all. The false Jews, the synagogue of Satan, who are said to be liars in Revelation. Synagogue of Satan 64, like Israel, like Zion, like the ADL. The ADL, which is making the rounds right now, saying that all questioning of Zionism, all questioning of the Holocaust, it's all hate speech. It all needs to be completely censored from the internet. In the age of the information, in the age of the internet, the ADL, a very powerful Zionist lobby, wants all of this type of information completely shut down. They want it as hate speech. They want it as federal crimes. They want people like myself jailed, imprisoned, discredited, because they're scared. They're scared of the truth because they rule with lies. What's the enemy of the lie? The truth. What's the problem with the truth in this world? The problem is the truth speakers, they don't have the microphones that matter. They don't have the screens that matter. They don't have the venues that matter. I'm here talking on YouTube to a small audience. Every single day, the ADL can reach hundreds of millions of people through the television. They say it's a conspiracy talk to say that the media is controlled and operated by the Zionists, but conspiracy talk, there's nothing wrong with it because conspiracies happen every single day. It is a conspiracy how much power Zionism has in this world, from media to government to money. I just heard him say on the other day that people criticizing international bankers is now anti-Semitic. They said international bankers is code word for hate speech, anti-Semitism. This is called programming. It's calling people to discredit the truth. This is lies beating the truth, and it needs to stop. It needs to be overturned. So many of you in the GDL, the Goyim Defense League, you better be careful who you're listening to. I've seen one of the top GDL speakers speak against Gematria now. I find that real interesting. This is the language the Zionists operate by. If you want to expose Zionism, there's no better way than to understand this code. It's not an accident that Sheldon Adelson, the proudest Zionist in the world, is born on 8/4, August 4th. Zionism 84. You can flip that number around too, like 48, like the year the Zionist nation was officially established, Israel. 48. We're going to talk more about that in light of Theodore Herzl. If you've never seen my work on Anne Frank, there's a whole lot more besides her name equaling 84. So anyway, this code of letters and numbers, it's what you got to know if you want to fight back against Zionism and expose their tyranny with proof. Case in point, Theodore Herzl, the founder of Zionism. He dropped dead at age 44 on July 3rd, 44 years before the Zionist nation of Israel would become official. Not an accident, not in the least. Now, before I go on, you need to understand, Hebrew is where the code of Gematria originally comes from. There's a lot of overlap with Hebrew and English in terms of the numerical value of words. In Hebrew, there are many different ways to decipher the Hebrew alphabet into numbers, many recognized forms. Same within English, but I teach 4 methods primarily. I teach a little bit more than 4, but I teach people the 4 base ciphers. When you know these 4 base ciphers, you can see more than you need to know. We were just talking about how Zion has Gematria of 64, Synagogue of Satan 64, Zion 64, Israel 64. Zion and Israel also have Gematria 44, as does the current leader of Israel, Netanyahu. And big things are going to happen under Netanyahu. You just watch. But look at this. From 1904 to 1948, 44 years later, after the death of Theodor Herzl, the founder of Zionism, we get the Zionist nation. And again, Israel 44, Zion 44, Netanyahu 44. Do you recall this headline from years ago? You know, I've been here covering everything day after day. This was from October 2015. Netanyahu's 44-second silence at the UN. It was supposed to be a message to Obama, number 44. And of course, Obama was a proud Zionist that in the propaganda-based media, they confused the people and made it seem like Obama wasn't some Zionist himself, even though the first thing he did as president was when he appeared before AIPAC, the Israel lobby. But I just want you to see this about Netanyahu. Benjamin Netanyahu in Hebrew sums to 44. Benjamin Netanyahu in Hebrew, all you have to do, you can verify this, just come type English to Hebrew, take Benjamin Netanyahu's name, copy the Hebrew value, come to the Gematria calculator, go to the foreign ciphers, open up Hebrew reduction and ordinal, and then just paste his name. His name, 44 in reduction, also 134. And you want to know what's awesome about the 134? Look at Netanyahu in English. Netanyahu, 44, 134. Look at the 372, because Theodor Herzl died July 3rd. Date that can be written 3/7. Israel also equals 37. But in light of this 44 and 134, I want you to remember that Donald Trump is on a shekel right now. By the way, that shekel went on sale on the 102nd day of this year with Donald Trump's face on the other side and the third temple on the other. But what I want you to see about this 44 and 134 is Trump is number 45, but he's only the 44th person to be president. That's because Grover Cleveland was number 22 and number 24. He had a split term, so the 25th president was the 24th person all the way up to president. You know, Obama was number 44, but only the 43rd president. So anyway, Trump is number 44. He was in Jerusalem for Jerusalem Day on a date with 44 numerology, touching the Western Wall where they planned to build the third temple. That was May 22nd, 17, 5 plus 22 plus 17, a date with 44 numerology. He was at the Western Wall, which has this gematria of 44 and 64, just like Israel's 44, 64, just like Zion is 44 and 64. Again, these 4 base ciphers, in case you're new here. On the left, it's the alphabetic order. A is 1, B is 2, C is 3, up to Z is 26. You can see how the breakdown is down here. Z26, I9, O15, N14. This next cipher is the rules of numerology with the alphabetic order. So instead of Z being 26, it's the numerology of 26. 2 plus 6 is 8. I still 9. Instead of O being 15, it's 1 plus 5 is 6. Instead of N being 14, it's 1 plus 4 is 5. Numerology. Zion, 44. It's just the reverse alphabetic order. Z is 1. Notice Z is 1 here. Back to A is 26. And then that reverse order with rules of numerology. So anyway, we were talking about how Netanyahu's 44 and 134 in Hebrew and in English. And, you know, Donald Trump, he ran around saying, "Make America great again." Sheldon Adelson bankrolled him. He said he'd be the proud Zionist. It's because they have something planned for us, you guys, and it's going to happen more than likely while Trump's in office. Very well could happen August 11th, 2019, like I've been talking about. A lot of education on why we're looking at this date, Tisha B'Av, to remember the destruction of the 2 temples. Tisha B'Av comes to 134. You see that? Tisha B'Av, 134. And in English, Tisha B'Av just means 9th of Av, which is also 134 as well as 44. You know, If you missed my work on Jared Kushner and what's interesting about how he lines up with the date August 11th, 2019, don't overlook that he has the 134 connection either. These numbers have meaning. Tisha B'Av, if you don't know what this is, it's to remember the destruction of the two temples, Solomon's and Herod's. It's part of the prophecy of the third temple. August 11th, 2019 is Tisha B'Av. And in Jewish Gematria, you should know that Tisha B'Av equals 911, the destruction of the two temples. Does that remind you of the destruction of the two towers? It should. Again, we're living out a planned agenda. Rigged elections, mass terrorism, nonstop propaganda, coordinated news stories that are synced up with bigger events to come, like this synagogue shooting. So anyway, Hebrew, English, lots of overlap in Gematria. You can verify it a million different ways, even with a guy like Netanyahu. Here's another good one. Kabbalah. That's this code of letters and numbers, right? Kabbalah. Notice Kabbalah is 38 using the Hebrew alphabetic order. Remember the 11 dead at the Tree of Life synagogue? There's 11 Sephiro on the Tree of Life, which is the physical model for Kabbalah. Kabbalah, using the English alphabetic order, is also 38. There's just so much overlap. It's not hard to see that the English alphabet was built in tribute to what's within Hebrew. And in light of there being 11 dead at the synagogue, 11 is the master number in alphabetic order and rules of numerology. Jews also 11. So anyway, speaking of the Tree of Life synagogue, I did a ton of work on this. Just a quick little glimpse at some of the things I covered. I've been showing for years. I mean, I have a book. I have a book that's 773 pages long. One of the longest chapters in this book is shootings by the numbers over the decades. The chapter's over 110 pages long. I show how every single time in every mass shooting, they code the number 44. They just can't help themselves. And they did it in this Tree of Life synagogue shooting in two ways. First, they reported that 4 people were shot upstairs and 4 were shot in the basement, 4 and 4. And then they came out and said that the Pittsburgh shooter got 44. He was indicted on 44 charges, 32 of which are punishable. 44 is a big number. Shootings 44, gunfires 44, kills 44, plus more. Again and again, that number. With regards to 32, I also showed how this shooting is synced up with the date that points to Jerusalem, August 11, 2019. And Jerusalem's 32. So is America. Anyway, these numbers aren't an accident. America was established 7/4/1776, a date with 32 numerology. Special degree there to the Scottish Rite of Freemasonry, which is the most Jewish branch. Also, for just a little bit more on the Tree of Life synagogue shooting, recent headlines were that Trump was rejected when he went to, pay homage to the victims. And understand this is a joke. To make it seem like Donald Trump's anti-Semitic is just confusing the public. And they need us confused. It's just, they did the same thing with Obama. They made it seem like Obama had beef with Israel, even though he was right in their lap the whole time. Obama signed a record deal to send Israel $38 billion over 10 years. You guys remember this? Go look up the headline. Jew 38, Kabbalah 38, BC on the 38th parallel, Obama, $38 billion over 10 years on top of what we're already sending to Israel. So we send them an insane amount of money every single day. And we're sending money to a nation that is overseeing a police prison state in Palestine. We're essentially paying for the slow genocide of the Palestinian people right now. This is what we're paying for with our tax dollars. Everybody who's at work today, working, paying all that money to the federal government. How many of us work in this nation? 200 and some million? 200 and some million taxpayers? A lot of our money goes to Israel. That's why it needs to stop. The people that see us as cattle. Anyway, Donald Trump, they make it seem like he's some anti-Semite when, he's over in Jerusalem for Jerusalem Day, going right along with the Zionist Agenda, the biggest Zionist in the nation. Sheldon Adelson bankrolled him. It's clear. And all of his children are married into Jewish families. How can the guy be anti-Semitic? But anyway, look at what they did. Trump showed up in Pittsburgh on October 30th, 18, a date with 58 numerology, right? Pittsburgh's 58, Donald Trump, the winner of the 58th U.S. presidential election. Hired the 58-year-old Steve Ray for Inauguration Day. This news came on Trump's 139th day of his age. Freemasonry has the Gematria of 139 and 58. Jerusalem's also 139. America's 139. We'll talk about these things as we move on. But again, I just want you to understand how important these numbers are to Israel. Freemasonry's 58, Rosicrucian's 58, Solomon's Temple, the first temple, 58, Secret Society. Looks like I didn't put it up here, but Jerusalem is also 58. So is Herod's temple, 58. So is Third Temple, 58. And from Trump's birthday in 2019 to August 11th, 2019, which will be a date with 58 numerology, 8 plus 11 plus 20 plus 19, 58. From Trump's birthday to that day is 58 days later. So anyway, Trump shows up at the synagogue shooting. By the numbers, big number already on the shooting. It was also a date with 78 numerology, and as we talked about in the 78th verse of Genesis, the 78th verse of the Bible is where the tree of life is spoken about. So how fitting that he shows up on a date with 78 numerology as well for the tree of life synagogue shooting. Mass shooting also sums to 78. Special number there. Order out of chaos, 78. By the way, the shooting came 41 weeks before August 11th, 2019. Zionist has Gematria 41. 9/11/2001 was a date with 41 numerology. They blamed it on Al-Qaeda 41. By the way, Al-Qaeda was supposedly established on August 11th in the year 1988. August 11th, special date in history. But look at this as well. When Trump went to the synagogue, the location of the synagogue shooting, he was rejected by Pittsburgh's mayor. And in case you're new here, I've been showing, and I showed a million times over in my book, whenever there's these mass shootings in a community, it's synced up with the local officials, the mayor, the governor. What understanding this knowledge does is prove how the chessboard is set in our nation. It proves that our democracy is a lie. The elections are rigged. You know, it proves that we're terrorized with propaganda. And again, you have to know the original definition of terrorism. It meant government by intimidation. So we have. You know, it's nonstop intimidation in this nation from birth to death. From a young age, we get all this fear about things that really aren't that bad in this world. You know, they don't want you to experiment with plants that come from the earth. And the reason why is because some of those plants, they have the ability to break the mind control that we get through the program, from the government, from the media, from the education system, which is all government. Government means mind control in the Latin definition. Plants from the earth can break the mind control. They can also heal the body. So they have to scare us about those from a young age. Brown people, they got to scare us about that because they funnel brown people into the nation and they all want us to hate each other. That's what the New World Order does. Mixes people up and teaches them to hate each other with their programming. And it doesn't have to be this way. You know, don't mistake my words. I don't have anything against brown people. I got nothing but love. I'm just saying what the New World Order does is mix us up and then give us all this programming so that we hate each other. And then again, when you know the Gematria, you can just see through the rituals. Look at the mayor's name, William Peduto. Look at where the shooting was, Squirrel Hill. It was blamed on Robert Bowers. Look at our 4-base ciphers. How much overlap do you see there? Quite a bit of overlap, huh? It's almost the exact same in every cipher. And the number that's the biggest is the number I've taught about since my first video. If you saw the first video I ever uploaded, I said one number you really want to know is 74. With the alphabetic order, English is 74, Gematria is 74, Jewish is 74, Masonic 74, Killing 74, Occult 74. Whole lot of things. It's a special number. The term active shooter, term that they use in all these shootings, equals 74 in this exact same cipher. So our active shooter was Robert Bowers in the Squirrel Hill neighborhood, a Jewish neighborhood, where William Peduto is the mayor of Pittsburgh. And also, look at William Peduto's birthday, October 30th, the date that he got the most recognition recognition ever in his life as a politician was on his birthday, the same day he rejected Trump when he came to town? You think that's an accident? Of course not. Of course it wasn't. It's ritual. Scott Township is where he's from, like Scottish Rite, of course. Remember how they said 11 dead and 6 wounded? If you do his name that he goes by, Bill Peduto instead of William. Bill Peduto, 11-6. 11 dead, 6 wounded. How about Rothschild? Rothschild, the powerful Zionist family that the Balfour Declaration was made out to. Rothschild, 11-6. What are the odds? Use Jewish Gematria, Squirrel Hills, 611. I see the same numbers there. 11 dead, 6 wounded. And of course, it was a story that started out with 4 dead, then it climbed to 8 dead, then it went to 10 dead, and then it eventually got to the master number 11, where Jew also equals 11. I saw the Rabbi Meyer. The Rabbi Meyer was speaking about how the tree of life in Pittsburgh was 154 years old, and it would grow on for many years. And I said, oh, wow, that's interesting. That's 154 years old. That's a special number. First of all, Bill Peduto also equals 154, but what jumped out right away to me is that ritual sacrifice equals 154. The name Rothschild also has Gematria of 154 in the base ciphers. You think this family had any influence in this manufactured news story? Again, the same day as this shooting, there was the largest active shooter drill in Pennsylvania state history. It was hours away from this, but it was the exact same day. And at the beginning of this year, in January of 2018, in this same community at the Jewish Center, which is a half mile from the synagogue, they had 50 participants in an active shooter drill. So this was a community that had just recently practiced for such an event. And again, this event is synced up with the date of August 11th, 2019, where Temple Mount appears to be the target. Temple Mount is also 154. August 11th, 2019 comes during the time of Tisha B'Av to remember the destruction of the 2 temples. It also comes during the time of the Hajj, the Muslim pilgrimage, and it also comes during the time of the day of sacrifice on the Muslim calendar year. Think about it. A lot lines up. There's something called the Quran Code. The Quran Code centered around the number 19. We're talking about 2019. The Quran Code was discovered in 1968, the same year that the 911 plan went into motion as well. And don't forget that the word chaos equals 19. By the way, that mayor's name, Bill Peduto, also sums to 44, like shooting. Shooting also has Gematria 37, like how it happened on 10/27, 37. Remember, Israel equals 37, so does Netanyahu. What happened on the same day as the shooting? Israel bombed the Gaza Strip over 80 times. That's how it was reported. Over 80 times they were bombed. It got no news attention in U.S. media. Same day as the synagogue shooting. Does that seem coordinated to you? Believe it was. This is what I'm trying to explain to you. These people are living out a planned agenda. They're making us live it out. They planned it. And they have all of their news propaganda synced and coordinated. They have all of their atrocities planned and coordinated, and this is how it works. Do a horrible thing to these people that you're holding in a prison police state, murder more of them. And if you read the headlines say that did cover it, they said there was over 80 bombings and no deaths reported. Just think about that. You bombed over 80 times with powerful explosives where people live and nobody died, and they just report it to you like that. And they do it again and again, and they get away with it. And then, you catch on to the obvious and you speak out about it, and then everybody hates you. Trust me, I know that. I've been speaking nonstop for years, even since before I had a YouTube channel. Made everybody hate me. That's anti-Semitic to say things like that. It's like, what? To call out atrocities is anti-Semitic? It's just, when you're awake, it's so obvious how programmed people are. And it's also so obvious how, people have gone along with genocides in the past. Essentially, America's going along with the genocide right now in Israel. Essentially, they support it. They defend the people committing the genocide and condemn the people who are the victims. So anyway, October 27th, 18, also a date with 55 numerology. The rabbi who spoke out was Myers, 55. The name Rothschild's also 55, and so is Bill Peduto. His name in the base ciphers covers all the bases. And again, what are they called in Revelation, the false ones? They're called the synagogue of Satan. That's what they're called. That's what they're called, the synagogue of Satan. By the way, this happened on October 27th. Peduto also has the 27 connection. Has a big lineup here with the word ritual. William Mark Peduto. You see the 77? What went down in his town? The biggest attack on Jews in U.S. history. Judaism 77. Zionist 77. Again, that's why you want to know all the base ciphers. People control the world of political theater 77. They got all the power 77. You ever seen the film Four Blood Moons? It's about how Jews are responsible for the United States. It's a pro-Zionist film, Four Blood Moons. It's about, you know, if there wasn't the great Jew Christopher Columbus, there'd be no United States. If it wasn't for the Jewish bankers who financed the United States, there'd be no America. And it's about how Jews have always controlled the United States of America. You know, they're very proud in that film. They're very proud of what they've done for America. I highly recommend you check it out. Four Blood Moons. By the way, Washington, D.C. is on the 77th meridian. Do you remember Flight 77 that hit the 77-foot tall Pentagon 77 minutes after taking off on September 11th? It's all fact. Look it up. Wikipedia just recently edited the height of the Pentagon. For years, forever, it's been 77 feet. Pentagon just changed it in their thing to 71 feet, but look everywhere else. The Pentagon's 77 feet tall. It's a fact. Flight 77 hit it 77 minutes after taking off, according to the 9/11 Commission report. It took off at 8:20 in the morning. It hit at 9:37. For the person out there who goes, well, that could all be coincidence, this is where you want the Gematria piece. In our most pure cipher, which is the alphabetic order with the rules of numerology, September 11th is 77. So is World Trade Center. And don't forget, the Jewish people from Israel were here to document the attack. Real quick, I'm just going to make sure we're still online. Okay, we are. Thank God. So anyway, big numbers to know. William Mark Peduto, he's even got it in his name. Perfect. See how that name William Peduto's 61, 191, 74? Look at active shooter. Oh my God, it's 162. His name is the exact same in every cipher as active shooter. William Peduto. I'm telling you guys, we got to put this documentary together. We got to go to Pittsburgh. We got to interview these people. We got to get William Peduto in the same room with myself, and we want him to answer these questions. We want to know if his family's in Freemasonry. We want to know if he had foreknowledge. We want to know if we're aware of how his name syncs up with all these things. We want to hear him say it's a coincidence on the camera. Then we'll go to the next politician, expose the exact same pattern, get him to say it's a coincidence. Only fools will fall for the lies. Here's another lie right now. ADL going around saying that anti-Semitism's up 57%. I just called the ADL this week. Couldn't get anyone to talk straight with me. But here's the reason they reported that. Jews identify through the moon. All of their religious holy days are centered around the moon. Again, they got that pro-Zionist documentary, Four Blood Moons. And you'll hear him say it right in that documentary. We identify through the moon because the moon disappears in the night sky only to return full. Just like how throughout history, people have tried to genocide us from the earth, but we always come back stronger. And anyway, Jews 57, Moon 57, Scottish Rite 57. That's the most Jewish branch of Freemasonry, which has its headquarters in Washington, D.C., which George Washington was a member of. And straight from the Talmud, the other nations count by the sun while Israel counts by the moon. know? And there's nothing wrong with that. It's actually pretty brilliant how they did all this stuff. I mean, it's not an accident that 4 of the first six presidents were inaugurated at age 57. The name George is 57. I'm pretty sure George Washington was Jewish. He's not even the real first president, but he is recognized that way in the history books. You know, the victors write the history books. Those who control the past control the present. Those who control the present control the past. But show you another thing about George Washington real quick in light of the Jewish thing. Notice the 88 and 74. Notice the 187 too, but starting with the 88 and 74, Jewish. 88, 74. With regards to the 187, Washington, D.C. is also 187. There's 187 chapters in the Torah where this code comes from. Ancient accepted Scottish rites of Freemasonry. 187, most pure cipher. Notice also the 227, that's the 49th prime. Just for some more knowledge here. Scottish 49, Washington 49, America 49. If you missed my work earlier today on why House of Cards Season 6, Chapter 66 came out today on the day leaving 59 days left in the year, check it out. But it's related to this. Revelation, the final book of the Bible that names the false Jews, the synagogue of Satan, teaches about the number 666, the number of the beast, why we got a 666-foot-long Washington Monument in D.C. You got to know these things. Beast 47, D.C. 47. That's why the Washington Monument is 666 feet long, 555 feet above ground, 111 below. That verse about the person with wisdom will know how to calculate the number of the beast, the number of a man. So again, ADL, just for good measure, 64 like Israel, like Zion, like Synagogue of Satan, named straight from Revelation. Anti-Defamation League, 84, like Zionism, like Masonry, like United States of America, the Zionist nation that it is, the nation that helped bring about the New World Order after genociding the natives, which was just written off with an asterisk as manifest destiny. The ADL's been going after Mark Zuckerberg, born in 1984. Notice Mark Zuckerberg's 84, the man who used to go around with the Star of David on the inside of his hoodie, who has the same birthday as Israel's establishment date, May 14th, 1948, the flip of 84. Understand it's all a show. It is all a show. Take this code and apply it to Alex Jones. You'll see through him in minutes. Born on the 42nd day of the year, InfoWars, big Zionism numbers as well. Old Alex. And just to remind you about these people, they're ruthless. They kill their own. They kill others. You know, we started with Theodore Herzl, who dropped dead at age 44 years before the establishment of Israel. And I forgot to tell you that Theodore Herzl's name equals 73 in the most pure cipher, like how he died on July 3rd, a date which can be written 7-3. Also the reflection of 37, like how Israel's 37. Notice the 154 as well, like how that was the number all over the Tree of Life shooting, how it's the number connecting to the Rothschilds, who wrote the Balfour Declaration, November 2nd, 1917. Theodore's also 104, like Jerusalem, like British. For the Rothschilds, they operate out of. They're all over the world, but it's where they spread their language and their agenda through. The UK, Britain. The sun never sets on Britain. And they were bankrolled by the same Zionist bankers. So anyway, about Israel killing their own, another Zionist hardliner was Meir Kahane, and he died on November 5th, 1990. He was murdered in Manhattan at the age of 58. Remember the 5th of November. Notice his full name, Gematria of 119, like Orthodox, like Star of David. Don't ever let anybody tell you that Gematria is only practiced in Hebrew. It's a lie. It's very clear that the English language is coded out in tribute to Hebrew, and these people are absolutely using this code. It's no doubt that this is the reason English was created and spread across the world. Again, if you haven't seen my work or read my book, I show how the English language was standardized as a 26-letter alphabet at the same time the Gregorian calendar was rolling out in the world. Tomorrow, November 3rd, is a beautiful example of how the English language and the Gregorian calendar come together. There's many in the calendar year. Tomorrow's one of them. So anyway, this guy with the 119 name Gematria, murdered by the code at age 58. From his birthday, August 1st, to the date he died, November 5th, 96 days. And he helped spread the term never again, which comes out of the Holocaust. Never again equals 96. The Holocaust happened in 42. World War equals 42. War equals 42. Holocaust 42. The divisors of 42 sum to 96. The word knowledge has Gematria 42 and 96. But anyway, this term came after the Holocaust, but this guy really helped spread it, and he made it as the term for part of the Jewish Defense League, which he helped found. So never again 96, Jewish Defense League 96, and for his efforts, he gets murdered 96 days after his birthday at age 58, which again is another special number. Freemasonry 58, Rosicrucian 58. If you don't know, the Freemasons, modern Freemasonry came out of the Rosicrucian order. Their secrets are in Solomon's Temple 58, Secret Society 58. And there's a whole lot more to this list, where if you read my book, you can get the other 20 plus connected terms to Freemasonry and the Rosicrucians that fit. You know, when you have all of the knowledge that's in the book and you show this stuff to people, it becomes undeniable. I mean, it already is, but it becomes even more undeniable. King James, who was a Freemason and a Rosicrucian, dropped dead at age 58. This stuff's been going on a long time. Again, Jerusalem's also 58. With regards to being killed November 5th, killing 115, Masonic 115, assassin 115, he was assassinated. Freemasons 115, JFK was killed in the middle of Dealey Plaza, named after a 33rd degree Scottish Rite Freemason. He was killed on 11/22/63. 11 plus 22 is 33. Like how Masonry's 33, Secrecy's 33, Order's 33, Kennedy's 33, Federal 33. But 11 plus 22 plus 63 is 96. And that date that JFK was killed, 11/22/1963, also a date with 115 numerology. 11 plus 22 plus 19 plus 63 is 115. Numbers that show up again and again. JFK assassinated by similar numbers. So Jewish Defense League also has the Gematria of 84. Covered this. Zionism 84, Masonry 84, United States of America 84. He was killed in the States in Manhattan. The 96, the number that's most relevant, dying 96 days after his birthday. The 330 is a lot like 33, isn't it? His name also has the 187 Gematria, homicide code, but also the number of chapters in the Torah where a lot of this code of letters and numbers originates from. Gematria of 106, that's the prophecy number. Israel was recognized as a nation by the United Nations, November 29th, 1947, a date with 106 numerology. And speaking of which, I should come back here. The day Theodore Herzl died, the day he died was July 3rd, the day leaving 181 days left in the year. That's the 42nd prime number. Talk about why that matters. But it was Resolution 181 that first recognized Israel as a nation. 33 votes in favor. Zionism 42, Freemason 42, World War 42, War 42, Holocaust 42. The Holocaust began in 42. You see how it goes? You see how it goes? He died on his 63rd day of his age. Rabbinic Judaism equals 63. So does Freemasonic. Rabbinic Judaism means the Jews that go by the Talmud. And there's actually a greater meaning with the 63 in Rabbinic Judaism. The Mishnah consists of 6 orders. They love that 6, first perfect number, each containing 7 to 12 tractates, 63 in total. This is for the text for Rabbinic Judaism. The first major work of Rabbinic Judaism. 63, relevant to the book, coded in the words, not accidentally. What year was JFK killed? This year on September 6th, his nephew died at age 63. You guys catch that? JFK's nephew died at 63 on September 6th, where JFK was killed in 63 on a date with 96 numerology. He was going after the banks, wasn't he? He was going after the money. He was going after the war machine. All wars are bankers' wars. So anyway, this guy has a whole lot of interesting things in his name. A whole lot. This is a more recent assassination of a proud Zionist. And it just goes to show, I'm just putting this out there just to show you how ruthless these people are. These people kill their own symbolically, you know? I think in their mind, then it's more like, then they're remembered for what they did. And it just goes to show, you know, Theodore Herzl, for example, they say that he's the father of Zionism. Could he really be? Obviously not. You know, he might be that way in the history books, but obviously he wasn't the father. You know, the father was the one who put this guy to death by the numbers and knew that Israel would be established 44 years later. And again, remember, the news media at the time was already pumping the propaganda for the Holocaust, the 6 million dead Jews, the need for a Jewish state. All of this stuff was already going on. It had started in the late 1800s. So it was all planned. And this is the thing to understand. These people are working slowly. Project for a New American Century. That was the document that said the United States needed a new Pearl Harbor that was drafted just before September 11th happened, which they called the New Pearl Harbor, right at the beginning of the New American Century. They got the whole century planned out, you guys. We're going to live out their planned century if we don't do something about it. It's just going to get uglier. By the way, they got this proud Zionist in Manhattan where they would do their dirty work 11 years later, September 11, 2001. Assassination in Manhattan. Go together. So here's another recent death. Shimon Peres, former Israeli prime minister, dead at age 93. And 93 is a really special number to Israel. If you look up what day the boundaries for Israel or the borders for Israel were drawn up, they were September 3rd, 1947. And then those borders were voted on November 29th, 1947 by the United Nations, where they were recognized. And then officially May 14th, 1948, they became the Zionist state. But 9-3, the reason those numbers matter is because they represent Saturn. Saturn is the keeper of time, having to do with judgment. The Zionists feel that they have the right to judge all the people of the world. They're the God's chosen people. The rest of us are the Goyim cattle who are meant to be ruled over. And anyway, if you just go through Israel's history, it's a long show of 93. Some examples are their defense systems called Iron Dome 93. Their Speaker of Knesset is Edelstein 93. Knesset's 93. There's more. And it's a list that's always growing. And one of those things was the death of Shimon Peres. All of the world leaders ended up gathering in Israel on September 29th. That's the day leaving 93 days left in the year. And then they had his funeral the next day, September 30th. And think about September 30th. 9 plus 30, 39, 39 books in the Old Testament, the reflection of 93. That's the other part of 93. It's the reflection of 39, the number of books in the Old Testament. But Shimon Peres drops dead at 93. You get all the world leaders there on the day leaving 93 days left in the year. I got to show you guys something about September 29th. 9/29 as we write it in the U.S. There's 929 chapters in the Old Testament. And as they'll tell you in that documentary, Four Blood Moons, if there weren't any Jews, there wouldn't be any United States of America. You see it in Jewish Gematria, United States of America, 929, like the number of books in the Old Testament. Here, I'll show you something else. Old Testament equals 40 in our most pure cipher, right? US with the alphabetic order, it's 40. USA with the reverse alphabetic order, it's 40. Think that's an accident? It is not. It's all part of the clever coding. So anyway, I think there was another point I wanted to make here. By the way, something we haven't talked about is the occult religion Thelema, Aleister Crowley's religion. Aleister Crowley was a practitioner of this code of letters and numbers. In Thelema, they worship the number 93. They say hello and goodbye with the number 93. Represents the Greek word for love. And just for a little teaching moment, the word love has Gematria 54 with the alphabetic order forwards and backwards. The word sun has Gematria 54 too. And think about how they tell us the sun is 93 million miles away in light of Aleister Crowley's religion that worships the number 93 where it represents love. And many people do believe that the sun is God's love. You know, the sun that makes life possible. God's one and only son. Shimon Peres, when he died 57 days after his birthday. We were just talking about this. Jews 57, Moon 57, Scottish Rite 57. Yitzhak Rabin, another Israeli prime minister, when he died on the day leaving 57 days left in the year. He was assassinated on the day leaving 57 days left in the year. A lot of people, his assassin supposedly hated him for signing the Oslo Accords in 93. We'll get to that in just a second. With regards to Peres, he did die 57 days after his birthday. He also died on his 58th day of his age for another 58, you know. So, potential spam. No, thank you. His birth name also, Shimon Peres, notice the Gematria of 64. Like Israel, like Zion, like Thelema, like Synagogue of Satan, like ADL. If you guys are wondering why some of these decodes look different than the other ones we looked at, it's because these decodes are from older posts before the Gematrinator calculator existed. Derek built that for us in recent times. Speed up the process. So also, just another Zionist Israel nation leader. He was assassinated November 4th, a date that can be written 4/11. Assassin equals 411. If you've never seen my work on JFK and how his death was foreshadowed on the Andy Griffith show, you got to check that out. Again, it's covered in my book, along with many other important topics. But this is another number that's shown up again and again around death in history. So Yitzhak Rabin killed November 4th, and that is the day leaving 57 days left in the year. November 4th. 57 days. It's also the 308th day of the year. Lose the zero. What do you got? You got 38 with the alphabetic order. Death 38. Jew 38. So Yitzhak Rabin, his death's very numerological. His birthday was March 1st. He died November 4th. He died 8 months and 3 days after his birthday. Murder, 83. And you know, again, the date's appropriate for assassination. It's appropriate to kill a Jew on this day in light of the way these people operate by this code. Yitzhak Rabin has that gematria of 63, like Rabbinic Judaism. He first took office in 74. Again, that's the big number with the alphabetic order. Jewish 74, Masonic 74, Gematria 74, English 74, killing 74, stabbing 74. You know why that's interesting? Because the Ides of March, March 15th, is the 74th day of the year, the day we remember the stabbing of Caesar. Doesn't it seem like a strange thing to have commemorated in the calendar? If you go back and read Roman history, you know how they say all the roads lead to Rome? Romans 74. Not any secret who was in control of Rome as it tumbled to the ground. You know? The Jewish people were once kicked out of Rome. They've been kicked out of a lot of nations. And if you listen to Jonathan Greenblatt, the 57-year-old head of the ADL, going around saying that anti-Semitism is at 57%, he's saying things like, hating Jews is the oldest form of hatred. We've been hated all throughout history. And it's like, yeah, why do you think that is? Is it just a big coincidence? Or is it because that you have a holy text, or what you refer to as a holy text, that says that the rest of us are dumb cattle meant to be ruled over by you? It says in your holy text, it's okay for you to lie to us. It's okay for you to steal from us. It's okay for you to kill us. Now you're going around saying that people like myself who call all this stuff out, we should all be in jail. We should all be completely silenced. And we have been, seriously. I mean, I can't even speak the way I really want to speak. I'm on my 18th channel. I had 5 years of my life essentially erased because I spent all 5 years pumping out nothing but knowledge. And now pretty much what most people know about me who've never actually watched one of my videos, thanks to all the shills who hide behind the computer, is, oh, I'm a Jewish person myself. I'm a shill. It's like, really? I'm the guy who's been working harder than anybody else in the world to expose Zionism for 5 years straight. Literally. For 5 years straight, I've done at least one piece of work every single day. If it wasn't a video, it was several blog posts. It was a radio show, you know? And again, I've been doing it for longer than that too. Speaking out even before I was doing all this stuff. But anyway, Yitzhak Rabin, he signed the Oslo Accords in '93 in Washington, D.C. And I just want you to see this. They were signed on September 13th, right? His assassin hated him for signing this because his assassin thought it wasn't right for him to try to bring peace between the Jewish people and the Middle Eastern people that aren't Jewish. What the Oslo Accords were about. Just be a step in the peace process. Hold on, I got to check this message real quick. Okay, I got to hurry up, you guys. Jerusalem has the gematria of 139, like 13/9. So does America. So does Freemasonry. You want to know another one? Have you guys seen? First, I'll show you this. Jewish state equals 139. It's also 40 like United States. It's also 158 like Freemasonry. You guys seen Westworld? It's a hit show about people who exist for someone else's purpose other than their own. You think that was a clue, a metaphor for us here that pay all the bills for Israel? I do. But anyway, these Oslo Accords were signed in '93. Remember, '93 is the number that represents Saturn, the keeper of time. Big number to Israel's history. They were signed in D.C. D.C. is the land of Freemasonry, where the Freemason compass set at 47 degrees. Oslo, 47. D.C., 47. Government, 47. Authority, 47. President, 47. White House, 47. Republican, 47. Democrat, 47. Bill Clinton took the White House 211 days before his 47th birthday. 211 is the 47th prime, not an accident. It's all perfect ritual. So for one last closing point, again, since we're educating the GDL about the Zionist work by the numbers, and tomorrow's November 3rd, you got to know this number right here. Let me find what post I need to show you. So Anne Frank, her full name is Anne Elise Marie Frank, which in Gematria sums to 311, which is the 64th prime, a number we've covered very thoroughly. Her name also sums to 113, and that's the number you got to know about, 113. Bava Kama 113a in the Talmud says it's okay for somebody who's Jewish to lie to somebody who isn't. Star of David, which is the seal of Solomon from Solomon's temple. Star of David has this gematria of 113 in the Kabbalah ciphers. Don't overlook that Star of David also has the 47, 74, and 119 connections, which we've also talked about. But 113, hold on, let me get the post that we need up here. It's a number they code all over the lottery, by the way, you guys. Here's what you need to know. Bava Kama 113a, Jews may use lies to circumvent a Gentile, and just so the Jews don't feel like I'm speaking out of context, this verse does say that this is only okay within a legal setting. But I'll remind you again, this entire world is a legal setting. There's nowhere you can go on this earth where you're not subject to the laws of the land. You know, if you commit a crime, no matter where you are, you're going to be held accountable if you get caught. The whole world's a legal setting. So anyway, 113, it's this number of deception. Think about Auschwitz. Auschwitz was a prison camp, an internment camp, like how we had internment camps in the U.S. for Japanese and others. There were other people who got put in the internment camps, dissidents. But Auschwitz was an internment camp, which they say had gas chambers, which there's no evidence of. But what there is evidence is that it had recreational centers, it had swimming pools, it had tennis courts, all for the prisoners. Ask yourself, why are they going to entertain people who supposedly they're just going to mass murder? It doesn't make sense. Again, there's no evidence of any gas chambers at any internment camps. But look at all these 113 things. Mainstream, dishonest, not true, not honest, not factual, disinfo, politics, perjury, fiction, bullshit. And there's even more. There's even more. We'll do this one last example, and then I got to pick up my lady. She's waiting for me right now. Titanic. Just covered this the other day, but I'm going to cover it again for people who are new here. Oh, yeah, the first YouTube video was uploaded on the 113th day of the year. You think that was an accident? It was called Me at the Zoo. Me at the Zoo. Do I have Me at the Zoo up here? Oh, yeah, you guys should look up Piltdown Man. For 41 years, here, I got to show you Piltdown. For 41 years, Piltdown was used as evidence of evolution until it was admitted to be a scientific fraud. It was also used as proof that white people were the superior race. It was an early fraud to prove evolution. Why would they have to lie? Why would they have to lie? Hold on, there's so much 113. But I want to tell you this example about the Titanic in 113. Nope, that's not it. Where do I have it at here? Here, I'll just do it. I'll just do it this way. I got too many blog posts. Look at this. Date Titanic sank. Date Federal Reserve was established. Now, these events are linked in history, and a lot of people don't know how, but they are. Again, closing point for this presentation. The Titanic. It was written about in a book called Futility, Wreck of the Titan by an author named Morgan Roberts in the late 1800s. Futility, the Wreck of the Titan was about the largest ship to ever sail named the Titan that sank while crossing the Atlantic from Europe to the Americas after hitting an iceberg. The exact same story as the Titanic. Futility, Wreck of the Titan. And if you're not aware, the Titanic, it had a sister ship, the Olympic, which had crashed months earlier, and it was repaired. And the Olympic was scratched off the boat, and they repainted it Titanic. It was owned by Morgan Chase, JP Morgan, JP Morgan, you know, the bank that's now Morgan Chase. JP Morgan was supposed to be on the Titanic, but he got off before it sailed. And who was on the boat were the three richest men in the world at the time, who were all opposed and who were all actively fighting the establishment of the Federal Reserve, which would happen a year later. Now look at this. From the date the Titanic sank, hold on. From the date the Titanic sank, April 15th, which is the same day Lincoln died, to the date the Federal Reserve was established, make sure we got our dates right here. April 15th, 1912, December 23rd, 1913. So we got. From that date to the date of the establishment of the Federal Reserve was 617 days later. And why does that matter? It's because 617 is the 113th prime number. 617, the 113th prime. Titanic has that 113 gematria. See? And it's a lie that we're told every day in our state schools, in our state curriculum. And just think about it. Why do we all need to know this story? All of us know this story in America. Why do we know it? It's because we're being mocked. It's the mocking of the Goyim. The people who did this, they know what they had. They had an evil plan to put a central bank in place that would make all of us debt slaves, that would slowly and slowly take from us, which is where we are. You know, it's why our ancestors who lived after World War II, you know, one adult worked, the other adult stayed home, took care of the house, took care of the family. There was plenty of wealth to go around. You could pay for education, you could pay for food, you could pay all your bills. And as I say that, I mean, there are other parts of society that have always been terrorized in this nation, and it wasn't quite that good for them. But even for those parts of society that had it worse, it's even worse today, you know? The reason this is because we're letting a terrible agenda go on that's meant to enslave us, that's meant to ruin our lives, that's meant to make us feel hopeless and despair. They got all these things thought out. You got a people that are hopeless and despair, guess what? They're going to go out and get on your pharmaceutical drugs. That's why they made all the plants from the earth illegal, so you had to go buy the man-made drugs to cure the contrived disease and illness, the contrived depression. All of this stuff has been thought out. We live in a nation where we can't even know what's in our food. Our elected representatives vote so that we can't know what's in our food. You know, we call our elected representatives about what they're doing in the skies, and they laugh at us and say, you sound like a conspiracy theorist. No, I'm just not blind, you know? So anyway, you guys, I do got to hit the road. My lady's going to be mad. I'm surprised she's not texting again, but I'm supposed to go pick her up. And I just want to give you guys one more note here. I got my eyes on the GDL. We talked an awful lot about 58 in this video. I got my eyes on the GDL. I just saw how the leader of it went over to Palestine, and I fully support that, exposing the tyranny, but he didn't do anything while he was there. I mean, you got to have balls. You got to fight back. If you're going to go do big things, do it big. But I noticed that when he came back, he had a video recording of a Palestinian shop owner, and at the beginning of that video, the shop owner says, I'm 58 years old, and I thought that was really weird because I was already paying attention to this. GDL equals 58. The guy who went over there is No More News 58, and his big buddy is Handsome Truth 58. And you know, I'm willing to call some things a coincidence, but what I'm not willing to call a coincidence is this. A lot of people asked No More News to have me on to spread this knowledge, and he went out and got a guy named Marty 58, whose name is actually Marty Leeds, also 58. And the thing about Marty Leeds is he's a known shill in the community. You know, Marty Leeds is a known shill. He went out and got Marty Leeds to come on and diss my work. How are you going to expose Zionism and not share my work? How are you going to go out and get a shill to diss me when people are asking you to have me on your channel? So I know that the guy, No More News, the guy who's greener than green, I know he's aware of me. I notice he hasn't had any balls to speak up. You know, he'll go after some of these Looney Tune characters that are easy to speak against, but, you know, I know that he knows that he's outmatched going up against me. He just woke up. He just came out of the Donald Trump supporting camp, out of the Alex Jones supporting camp, and I'm suspicious. He's associating with a lot of shills. He's not talking about Gematria. All he's done is discredit it. And that's not cool. That's not cool at all. So realize shills are put here to lead people astray. You know, No More News is speaking against Zionism, which I'm all for. And I want to believe that he's sincere and just ignorant and making poor choices. I'm going to give him the benefit of the doubt. But he's going to prove it to me by stepping his game up and stop talking about news media propaganda as if it's real, which he continues to do too. His whole take on the synagogue shooting is this is some idiot who's going to get us all censored. It's like, no, dude, this is the agenda. So you can't follow a sheep, people. This guy might wake up, of just woken up to Zionism being the enemy, which he admits, but he has a lot more waking up to do. And he needs to be careful who he's associating with. And the one thing I don't understand from my perspective is I had a lot bigger following than he has right now before I was deleted in June of 2017. And a lot of the people who are connecting with him are people who I reached out over the years trying to find out if they were legit. They never even responded to me. So I'm just going, well, why didn't these people ever want to associate with me? I mean, I had a bigger following. My work's way more important. I didn't just wake up and, you know, crawl out of Alex Jones's ass. So anyway, I've just determined over the years that all these people who ignore my work, that they're shills. They're not here for the truth. They're here to pretend like they're doing something, but they're not really doing anything. You know, I'll say it again. If you're not spreading this knowledge of letters and numbers and how the cabal truly operates, you're not really doing anything. You know, we already know what's up in Palestine. We already know about the prison state. That stuff's been out for decades. You know, going over there and putting out the video of one shopkeeper who says he's 58 years old, that just makes me scratch my head. Why did he even say that? It's already pointing out this thing about 58 in the GDL, and then that's your video footage. You got a guy who has to say that he's 58 years old at the beginning. I don't even know what to think. So we'll leave it there, Truth Seeker. Spread the word, pick up the book. Again, I need all 20-some thousand of you who haven't picked up the book to go pick up the book. You do that, we're going to create the Gematria News Network. And thank you to the 2 people who just went out and put out the latest reviews. Paula, if you're out there, you gave me a great review, but you accidentally hit 3 stars and you screwed up my entire rating on Etsy. I had all 5-star reviews. This got me removed from the top-rated items on Etsy, this accidental 3-star review. How are you going to write book's worth its weight in gold, pick it up, and then hit the 3-star button? You just hurt the book sales by doing that, because now it's not featured in the best items on Etsy, all because of that. So, and also, if you guys can go out there and get more reviews, help me get off 96, because people are going to get suspicious of that. Realize I don't control how many reviews there are. I'm not allowed to review my own books, so that's just where it is at this moment. Last video we did, it was at 94, so we got 2 more. Thank you. All right, True Seekers, I got to go. Appreciate you all again. The book's linked in the description of every video. Go to Etsy and search Letters and Numbers. That's the one with the bright green cover. The white and black words, letters and numbers. Till next time.